Ladies and gentlemen, growth is not a destination. It's a way of living, a lifelong commitment to becoming the best version of yourself. We often ask, what must I do to succeed? But the real question should be, what kind of person must I become? Today, I want to share 10 rules to live by if you truly want to grow in life. These are not temporary hacks. They're principles, foundations, and disciplines. Let's dive in. We live in a world obsessed with intensity. Overnight success stories, viral moments, massive breakthroughs. But what truly drives real, lasting growth is not intensity. It's consistency. Think of a river cutting through rock. It doesn't happen in a single day. It happens over time, drop by drop, moment by moment. That's the quiet strength of consistency. Consistency is showing up when it's boring, when it's hard, when no one is clapping for you. It's writing every day even when no one reads. It's studying daily even when the test is far away. It's going to the gym even when you're tired, working on your goals when the excitement fades, and sticking to your routines when distractions try to pull you away. Too many people quit because they don't see instant results. But success doesn't reward intensity alone. It rewards those who persist long after the initial motivation wears off. Growth is not a product of massive effort once in a while. It's the result of small efforts compounded over time. Let's be clear, consistency doesn't mean perfection. You will slip, you will miss days, but it's not about being flawless. It's about returning to the path again and again, building momentum brick by brick, habit by habit. Each time you show up, you're sending a message to yourself. I'm committed to my growth. Whether you want to be healthier, wiser, stronger, more skilled, or more successful, the real secret is not a miracle. It's discipline repeated over time. Consistency transforms goals into habits, and habits into identity. You don't just achieve things, you become someone new in the process. And once your identity begins to shift, your life does too. Growth begins where illusions end. And the hardest illusion to break is the one we've created about ourselves. Most people are not stuck because they lack talent or opportunity. They're stuck because they're not willing to look themselves in the mirror and tell the truth. Truth about their habits, truth about their excuses, truth about what they say they want, and what they're actually doing about it. Being brutally honest with yourself isn't comfortable. It's not meant to be. It requires courage to confront your shortcomings, to admit where you've been lazy, fearful, distracted, or misaligned. It means looking past the image you project to others and asking yourself, am I truly doing what I said I would? Am I living in alignment with my values, or am I lying to myself just enough to stay comfortable? Growth thrives in truth but dies in denial. You can't fix what you refuse to acknowledge. You can't evolve if you keep justifying your bad habits. You can't improve if you keep sugarcoating your failures as just bad luck. Honesty is the foundation of all personal development. Without it, every strategy, every plan, every goal becomes a facade, a performance instead of progress. When you get honest, you stop blaming others. You stop shifting responsibility. You realize that nobody else is responsible for your discipline, your attitude, or your decision. You see that the real enemy isn't out there, it's within. It's the part of you that wants to stay comfortable, stay passive, stay the same. This level of honesty is raw. It will expose things you've been avoiding. But it will also empower you, because once you stop lying to yourself, you stop living beneath your potential. You stop settling, you stop pretending, and you start rebuilding. Stronger, clearer, and more intentional than ever before. Growth and comfort cannot coexist. If your life feels too easy, too predictable, too safe, you're probably not growing. The truth is, every time you avoid discomfort, you delay your evolution. And every time you lean into discomfort, you open a door to new levels of strength, wisdom, and opportunity. We're biologically wired to avoid pain. It's a survival mechanism, but personal growth isn't about surviving. It's about thriving. And thriving demands that you challenge the very instincts that once protected you. The discomfort you're avoiding, waking up earlier, speaking your mind, saying no, starting over, learning something new, taking responsibility, asking for help, that discomfort holds the exact transformation you say you want. Discomfort is a teacher. It reveals your limits and gives you the chance to expand them. It shows you who you are when things aren't going your way, when you're under pressure, when you're uncertain, when you're stretched thin. That's when your character is tested. That's when your resilience is built. You don't get stronger by staying safe. You get stronger by walking into the fire and realizing you didn't burn. The people you admire didn't become great by chasing ease. They chased challenge. They built grit by doing the uncomfortable thing, especially when no one was watching. They understood that the obstacle is not the end, it's the beginning. When you choose discomfort on purpose, you become dangerous, not to others, but to the doubts, fears, and limitations that once controlled you. Seeking discomfort is about making peace with failure. It's understanding that falling short doesn't mean you're not worthy. It means you're willing to try. It's learning to enjoy being a beginner, to enjoy struggling, because you know that every moment of discomfort is carving out a stronger version of you. It's not about chasing chaos or pain, it's about embracing the stretch zone, that space between who you are and who you're becoming. Discomfort is the signal that you're stepping into unfamiliar territory, and unfamiliar territory is where transformation lives. The moment you stop learning is the moment you start declining. Growth is not just physical or emotional, it is deeply intellectual. And it doesn't happen passively. It requires active pursuit. You don't grow because time passes. You grow because you feed your mind, because you seek out knowledge, because you refuse to remain the same person tomorrow that you were today. Learning is not confined to classrooms, degrees, or formal education. Some of the wisest people never had access to universities, but they had an unquenchable hunger to understand. They asked questions. They observed, they read, they listened, and most importantly, they remained curious. Curiosity is a superpower in a world full of people who have settled for what they already know. You must make learning a daily discipline. It doesn't matter if it's 10 pages of a book, a podcast during your commute, a conversation with someone who sees the world differently, or even just 15 minutes of reflection. When you commit to learning something, anything, every single day, you begin to compound your intelligence. And what compounds eventually transforms. Knowledge expands your perspective. It challenges your beliefs. It reveals your blind spots. It shows you better ways to think, work, speak, and live. It sharpens your decisions and raises your standards. The more you learn, the more you realize how much you don't know, and that humility becomes a catalyst for even more growth. But learning isn't just about gathering facts. It's about application. Wisdom is knowledge in action. If you read 100 books but never apply the principles, you're no wiser than someone who read none. True learners don't just collect information. They live it. They test it. They let it shape their routines, their mindset, their goals, and their worldview. The world is changing fast. Technology is evolving. Industries are shifting, and life demands that we adapt. Those who grow are not the ones who know it all. They are the ones who never stop evolving. In today's world, your ability to learn quickly and consistently is more valuable than any single skill. And here's the deeper truth. When you commit to daily learning, you're not just filling your mind. You're training your soul. You're reminding yourself that you are a work in progress, that you are not defined by your past, but by your capacity to grow into more. You are not just shaped by your choices. You are shaped by your environment. And nothing influences your growth more quietly or more powerfully than the people you allow into your life. If you truly want to grow, you must become intentional about who you spend your time with. Because your circle isn't just a reflection of who you are. It's a preview of who you're becoming. Energy is contagious. Attitudes are contagious. Standards are contagious. If you surround yourself with people who are constantly negative, who complain, who fear change, who make excuses for stagnation, no matter how disciplined you are, that mindset will begin to rub off on you. Not all at once, slowly, subtly, and then suddenly you find yourself playing small, questioning your dreams, settling for less than what you're capable of. On the other hand, when you surround yourself with people who challenge you, who think big, who are working on themselves daily, who hold you accountable, who inspire you to grow, everything changes. You raise your bar. You stretch your vision. You get exposed to new ways of thinking, living, and achieving. The standard for what's normal in your life starts to rise, and you evolve simply by being in their presence. Growth-minded people don't let you stay stuck. They call you out when you're slipping. They encourage you when you're doubting. They see potential in you that you might not even see in yourself yet. They speak to the future version of you, and they do it in love, not judgment. Being around them doesn't just make you feel good, it makes you want to be better. But here's the truth. At some point, choosing growth means outgrowing people. Not everyone who started with you can go with you. Some friendships will fade, not out of hate, but out of misalignment, and that's okay. Growth requires pruning. You can love people and still choose to limit their access to your energy if they're not helping you grow. Creating a growth-minded circle doesn't always happen naturally. Sometimes you have to seek it. Sometimes you have to invest in it. Go to events, join communities, find mentors, build relationships intentionally. It may feel uncomfortable at first, but if you want to go far, you cannot go alone. Isolation breeds doubt. Community fuels progress. Nothing transforms your life faster than accepting that you are responsible for it. Not just for your actions, but for your results, your mindset, your progress, and your pain. The moment you stop pointing fingers and start owning your choices is the moment you regain power. Until then, you're giving your growth away to circumstances you can't control. It's easy to blame. It's easy to look at your upbringing, your job, your past failures, or the people who hurt you and say, "This is why I'm stuck." And while your pain may be valid, your story may be real, growth doesn't ask if it's fair. Growth asks if you're willing to rise anyway. Taking responsibility doesn't mean ignoring your wounds. It means refusing to let those wounds define the rest of your life. When you take responsibility, you stop waiting for someone to come save you. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You stop hoping someone else will open the door. Instead, you build the door, you learn the skills, you change the habits, you take ownership of your time, your focus, your energy, your attitude. You stop saying, "I can't," and start asking, "How can I?" Responsibility is about recognizing that while you may not control everything that happens to you, you always control your response, and that response is where your power lies. Life will throw storms your way, but you choose whether you sink, survive, or soar. Blame may feel satisfying in the short term, but responsibility is what moves you forward. This mindset shift separates the average from the exceptional. Because most people live reactively, they drift, they let life happen to them, they say things like, "I had no choice," or "That's just the way I am." But those who grow, those who evolve, refuse to play the victim. They don't wait to be chosen, they choose themselves over and over again. Owning your life doesn't mean you won't fall. It means that when you do, you own the fall and you own the rise. You look at every failure, every delay, every missed opportunity and say, "What was my role in this? What can I learn? What can I change?" That level of radical responsibility is rare, but it's the gateway to greatness. When you take full responsibility, you stop measuring your life by what happens to you and start measuring it by what you do with it. You become unshakable, not because life gets easier, but because you become stronger. Self-discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you could become. It is the quiet force behind every success story. The part most people never see, the early mornings, the late nights, the sacrifices. The quiet refusals, The small decisions made over and over again, even when motivation disappears and no one is watching. Discipline is not about feeling like doing something. It's about doing it regardless of how you feel. Motivation is a spark. It's inconsistent. It comes and goes with your emotions, with your mood, with your environment. But discipline is the engine. It shows up on rainy days, tired days, bored days, and broken days. It gets the work done anyway. When you practice self-discipline daily, you reclaim your freedom. It sounds ironic, but it's true. Most people think discipline is restrictive, but in reality, discipline is the very thing that sets you free. Free from regret, free from chaos, free from the consequences of poor choices. It gives you control over your future by giving you control over your behavior now. Discipline means choosing what you want most over what you want right now. It's saying no to short-term pleasure in service of long-term gain. It's resisting distractions when everyone else is indulging. It's holding yourself accountable when no one else does. It's putting structure into your day so that success is no longer left to chance. It becomes a result of intention. But here's the hard truth. Self-discipline doesn't come naturally. It's a skill, and like any skill, it must be trained. It must be forged through repetition, through showing up, through failing and starting again, through setting boundaries for yourself and honoring them even when it's inconvenient, especially when it's inconvenient. And it's not just about the big things, it's the small things, the micro decisions that shape your character, getting up with your alarm instead of hitting snooze, choosing to read instead of scroll, doing the extra set at the gym, finishing the task before you relax. Those tiny wins build a mental edge, a kind of inner steel that separates the disciplined from the distracted. With time, discipline becomes identity. You stop needing to force it because it becomes who you are. You don't just act disciplined, you become someone who doesn't tolerate your own excuses, someone who lives by principles, not feelings, someone who respects their goals enough to work for them every single day. Every person who grows, who evolves, who builds something meaningful, has failed not once, not twice, but countless times. Setbacks are not the exception to growth. They are the requirement. They are the proving grounds of character, the test of vision, the refinement of resilience, and the doorway to wisdom, if you're willing to learn from them. The problem is, most people fear failure so much that they spend their whole lives trying to avoid it. They tiptoe through life, avoiding risk, avoiding challenge, avoiding discomfort, all in the name of safety. But safety is an illusion. Growth demands exposure, and exposure brings setbacks. You will be rejected. You will make mistakes. You will take wrong turns, and that's not the end of the story. It's the beginning of a better one. You can look at a setback in two ways, either as proof that you're not good enough or as feedback on how to become better. One mindset says, I'm done. The other says, I'm just getting started. The difference isn't in what happens, it's in how you interpret it. Failure doesn't define you, your response does. Setbacks are your teachers. They reveal your weak spots. They test your patience. They expose what you haven't yet mastered. They humble you, but they also strengthen you, if you let them. Every time you fall, you're given a choice, to give up or to grow up. Growth doesn't happen by avoiding the fall, it happens by getting back up with more clarity, more grit, and more determination than before. And not just emotionally, but strategically. When you study your failures, they stop being mistakes. They become blueprints. They show you what doesn't work so you can refine what does. They strip away what's unnecessary. They sharpen your focus. They reveal the gap between where you are and where you want to be and give you the insight to close it. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in history were born out of the ashes of failure. People who were counted out, written off, laughed at, who turned their lowest moments into turning points, not because life got easier, but because they got wiser. They asked the right questions. What can I learn from this? What is this trying to teach me? How can I grow because of this, not in spite of it? When you embrace setbacks as lessons, nothing can break you, because even loss becomes progress. Even pain becomes purpose. You become unstoppable not because you never fall, but because you turn every fall into fuel. The fear of failure loses its grip. You stop hiding. You start building. A life without vision is like a ship without a compass, adrift, directionless, and vulnerable to the tides of distraction, doubt, and circumstance. Vision is not just a dream or a goal. It's a clear and compelling picture of the future you are determined to create. It is the why behind your efforts, the fuel behind your fire, the magnetic force that pulls you forward when everything around you is telling you to quit. Without vision, it's easy to settle, to shrink, to fall into survival mode. You wake up, go through the motions, and call that living. But deep down, you know you were meant for more. Vision is what breaks that cycle. It gives your life meaning beyond the moment. It gives weight to your actions. It gives your struggle a shape, your grind a goal, your discipline a destination. But here's the truth. Vision doesn't just appear. It must be built. It must be nurtured, revisited, clarified. It starts as a whisper in your heart, maybe even a painful one, the sense that your current reality isn't all there is, that something greater is possible, that you are capable of more and meant for more. And that whisper must be listened to, not ignored. A true vision is bigger than comfort. It stretches you, it intimidates you, it demands more than your current level, but that's exactly the point. A vision worth chasing will ask you to grow into someone you are not yet. It will pull you out of your excuses and into responsibility. It will challenge your laziness, your fears, your impatience. It will demand that you level up not once, but over and over again. When you have vision, you don't need to be constantly motivated, because you have a reason. You wake up with direction. You endure setbacks because you know where you're headed. You say no to distractions because you're chasing something greater. You don't rely on external validation because you're driven by internal alignment. Vision protects you from wasting your life on meaningless pursuits. It keeps you from trading your future for short-term pleasure. It anchors you in purpose when things get hard, and they will get hard. But when they do, your vision becomes your lifeline. It reminds you why you started and why you can't stop here. And more than anything, vision ignites belief. Not just belief in what you want, but belief in who you can become. It turns the impossible into a process. It shows you what's at stake if you give up, and what's waiting if you endure. It gives you a reason to fight, to rise, to keep showing up. The greatest threat to your growth is not failure. It's comfort with who you used to be. The moment you start telling yourself, "I've done enough," or "I'm good where I am," you begin to drift. Progress slows, hunger fades, vision gets blurry, and before you realize it, you're living a life designed by your past instead of being pulled by your potential. Growth doesn't come from staying still. It comes from constant reinvention, from refusing to let yesterday's winds become today's ceiling. Who you were yesterday may have been stronger than who you were a year ago, but that doesn't mean it's who you're meant to be tomorrow. Life is movement, and the second you stop moving forward, even subtly, you start falling behind. This isn't about rejecting who you are. It's about refusing to be finished. It's about waking up with the mindset that every version of yourself is just a draft. You are not final. You are not fixed. You are not done. There's still more to learn, more to sharpen, more to discover, more to shed, more to become. Never settling means living with a quiet dissatisfaction. Not the kind that creates anxiety or burnout, but the kind that fuels hunger. The kind that whispers, "There's another level," not because you're ungrateful, but because you understand that gratitude and growth can coexist. You can love your progress and still crave expansion. You can be proud of how far you've come and still be committed to how far you'll go. It also means being willing to outgrow your old self, your old habits, your old mindset, your old limitations. It means not romanticizing past versions of you that felt easier or safer. Growth often requires you to let go of identities that once served you but now hold you back. And letting go isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Each day you wake up, you're faced with a choice: repeat or evolve, Settle into who you were yesterday, or rise into who you could be today. The process isn't always glamorous. Most growth is invisible, quiet, unseen, but every small improvement compounds. Every decision to push a little harder, to think a little deeper, to act a little bolder, that's a statement. I'm not done yet. Growth isn't about adding, it's about becoming. It's not always about doing more, it's about doing the right things with intention. Live by these 10 rules, not just to succeed, but to elevate, to leave behind mediocrity, to become the kind of person you were born to be. Thank you.